please.
Um,
Yeah.
my question is more to Asaf and Daria, because I'm too from a company that does not create its own content. It's not a content machine. My question is about. Sure, I'm the VP of marketing for White Source, which is probably like a SaaS company doing stuff that most of the people here don't care about, but should.
It sounds
But
like an
should.
AA meeting, I have to admit.
But should. We're a B2D company. We're selling solutions to VPs of engineering. Very interesting stuff. So my question is about costs. Can you evaluate what is the cost of content, of creating a blog post? What if the cost, how many hours do you, on average, spend on a single blog post?
I just want to get regarding this point, and I will let you guys answer. As soon as you talked about the cost of a blog post, did you notice that everybody started to move uneasily in their chair? Like, yeah.
I know it's like Khalifatu Yatom, but
Yeah, it's a
but I'm
painful
talking
thing.
on average. So if you have a person who's in charge of it, they're doing one blog post a week and they're doing some other stuff. Probably 40% of their time is going to the blog. So that means then you can very easily calculate the cost of the blog post, right?
Before I will let you guys answer, just I want to say from our perspective, because we are an agency, so we are battling with this problem constantly because we have to scale. Otherwise, we're just gonna lose tons of money, and we have like this tendency not to really like to lose money. So what I can tell you is that measuring the cost of a specific blog post, what we found is usually a very artificial process. It cannot be done on a single blog post. So you look at the whole what we do internally in order to understand what are our costs. We look at the whole process of creating the content, and then we say, okay, out of that, we have this blog post, but this blog post has additional value beyond the fact that it is a blog post, because it has value also in distribution level. It has value also in ta-da-da-dam, and we are looking at it as a bundle, and we are trying to estimate what does it mean to have a piece of content out there that will be distributed.
But
that will be
now you're
promoted.
talking about the return on the investment. I'm just asking about the investment.
You go first.
So first of all, we don't have anyone dedicated that only creates content. Okay, some of the content that we get is free, as you should know. Okay, we actually just decided that we're going to be doing some contributed content for each other. So, so your upcoming blog post is free.
Right, but I'm spending my time on your blog post. So.
But that's not my cost. Now.
But you're spending time on my blog post.
Well, that's also true.
I hope.
But yeah, we would. Look, the cost. You know, we tried doing some outsourced content creation that didn't really work for us. So what I ended up doing is I ended up, you know, opening a position for essentially a content ninja. What I ended up getting is ex-journalists or tech bloggers that wanted, you know, to have like a proper environment to work in. So that's great, you know, and it's not a very costly resource, and they also do a lot of other stuff as well. So it's really cool, so content creation cost. I don't think, you know, we don't quantify the cost per blog post, and as Kfir mentioned, there's so many different things involved in what you see out of that, you know, we don't really do that.
If you look at the person who's creating the blog post, and you can estimate how much of their time is spent on the blog post per week, per average week,
yeah,
then you probably know the cost of the blog post.
That's true. So, you know, I'd say there's about 50%, you know, of their time is spent on creating blog posts. So you could quantify that, but it's not expensive. Let's put it this way.
Can I add to that? Yeah. I think you're right. It's much more expensive than we want to know. I estimate that a lot of good blog posts cost about $300, right around there. And you know, we don't want to look at that number because it's a high number. But I'm not afraid of the number. I think there's quantity and there's quality. If you can prove that $300 brings me in $600, I'm happy. I'm going to increase your budget and do more. How do you scale? That's my question. On my personal blog, I'm actually right now in the very early stages. So and I don't, and I've got, this amount of resources, right? So I'm constantly looking at the time it takes, not how much the cost is, right? And what I found there is that it's just about being creative. It's about finding the mechanisms of distribution rather than the mechanisms of creating valuable content. And so, for an example, I found that interviewing people takes a lot less time to create, but it's unique content. It's original. It's not guest posts, which are I don't value. It's original content, but the interview goes quickly, and then the person interviewed wants to share. So that's a creative way. Now, is it really is it the best content I could create? No, but it's some of the content I'll create, right? So there's a lot of that you have to kind of, in one hand, look at the creative ways to say, okay, my cost in the funnel, in this point of the funnel, is 23 cents for a visit, or is it $23 for a sign up, or what is it, right? What can I do within that budget that'll get me that result? That's what I need to look at. If I don't know that number, I shouldn't be doing anything. I should find out that number, right? So what is the purpose of that blog post? If you're just creating a blog post because that's what everybody's doing, stop. My blog post job is to get a sign up for my email newsletter. My email newsletter is worth me X dollars per sign up. Therefore, how do I get more content at this price per sign up? That's it.
But I just want to add another point to that. Look, what we've seen with content, setting up content machines or setting up content organizations, is that you need to find a balance between doing those very specific measurements and leaving an open door to creativity and to experimentation. And it's one of the biggest challenges that a lot of companies have. I mean, look, we are trying with, not in all cases, extremely exciting products, let's call it this way. Our enemy is a Facebook status of the friend of our buyer, right? So if we're constantly going to have those metrics of how much did this specific blog post, what was the ROI of a specific blog post, for example, or what was the cost of a specific blog post, as a specific element, and I know that you understand that it's something that's really hard sometimes to communicate to management, because content creation and the content business in general is a creative endeavor that we are trying to harness towards selling products. It's not the other way around.
But I'll completely disagree with that. I think that's
good.
The necessity creates creativity, not the other way around. Because once we know, okay, we have to get content within 23 cents a visit, that's going to bring us to, then we start getting creative because it can't be done.
That's awesome. It might be creative.
It can't be done.
However,
now we're getting creative.
That's true. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that the content will be good. I mean, I don't think that... So you will find a creative solution to get to that figure, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if you will give your team and tell them, for example, 80% of your time or 80% of the resources are KPI based, KPI driven, and you have to meet this goal. But for 20% of your effort, go nuts. And let's see what works. Because we measure everything.
I completely disagree with that. I completely disagree with that. That's awesome. The thing. I think, 100% of the company's effort has to be KPI based. Now, within that KPI, that's where the creativity shows. Right? You have all the resources you need to get me the greatest blog post in the world that'll bring me 23 cents a visit. That's fine. There's no contradiction there. But once I tell you got 20% of your time to do whatever you want, I know it's not going to be productive, period.
Okay, so here I have to admit that we have different experiences. Okay? I think that what happens in most organizations that we experience, okay, is that, and we're working with different companies. For us, when we're talking about companies, that the content machine is only one part of the funnel. The funnel is not completely online. It's not fully online. There are a lot of real-life engagement with the audience. The product price is very high. It's not a metric that you can say, I brought this amount of visitors from this UTM code, which is a tracking mechanism, okay? From this UTM code, and this is the writer, and I should give him a bonus. It doesn't work like that. And there, when you are trying to put the same KPI thinking on 100% of the effort, it's really tough, because then it's much easier to create a brochure. It's much easier to spend money on another event, to go to have another booth, okay?
If it works, great.
That's true, but... Yeah, market education is also an important part of this. Exactly. So that's another important. I will just repeat it so everybody can. Yes, sure. And just repeat for everyone. There are long sales processes in some cases, especially in non-online products or in very expensive online products. Our product needs to educate the market exactly, and that's a whole different story. And the CMO role there is it's just different. It's not just a different game.
I also want
This
to
is why. Sorry, he just directed the question to me. So no, so I'm sorry. No, just what I'm going to say is that's why we measure TIRI. So what we measure is the return on investment, even like a year from now. And since it has a UTM link, and we know whether this person visited the blog post before they sign up and before they became a paying customer, so we measure that over time. But to answer your question about how much effort and how much it costs to create a blog post, so I'm the only person doing content marketing at DePauw, so it's whatever my salary is, and make an educated guess. And I think a really good blog post takes at least one full day, if not a day and a half.
True.
And then you have to do everything else. You have to fill in your calendar on the OK to Post or whatever it is you're using. You need to do, I do Quora marathons because Quora performs really well. So you need to amplify and distribute. You can use, what I do is, I recommend this to everyone, is use if this then that.
Yeah.
Take a recipe, find a Quora search you like. I say if, but then.
If.
Oh, just if?
Yeah.
Okay. So use an if recipe, find a research on Quora that's relevant to you, have it send all the relevant questions to an Excel sheet. Then you can just go through it and say, okay, these are all the questions that I can answer with a short version of a blog post I just made. And then you go and answer those questions and link to the blog post. So we do that. But before I became a Start person back in 2000 and whatever, 7, I used to be head of the news desk at Walla. And it didn't have any original content. We were getting most of our content from Haaretz. And what we constantly had to do is like repurpose it and repackage it. And this is what I try to do. So I take that cost of a day and a half and just try to make the most out of it. So answer the Quora question, turn it into an infographics, turn it into a slide share. And then the cost kind of, the price per post reduces because you made more things out of it.